Welcome everybody to the 50th anniversary of Write Better Together. Oh my
Whoa.
gosh, I don't believe it. I'm John Myers. Emily Brooks. Hey, look everybody, it's Emily Brooks.
It sounds like we've been doing this for 50 years.
I
This
know,
is
it's
the
amazing, man.
anniversary.
50th anniversary. You don't look a day over. I don't know. We're the same age, so I won't even say. How could we have been doing this for 50 years? It was Saturday Night Live's 50th anniversary this month. Penn and Teller have been working together for 50 years, just like we have. Our guest is her 50th book. We have some 50 related surprises. This is just amazing.
Yeah. I didn't think we would be at 50 at this point, right? Like it is very impressive. I'm very impressed by us.
And we get to in 2 more episodes, we get to celebrate our first year anniversary. So
Oh my goodness.
I don't even just like I don't know how the time works on this show because you were like in Florida, then you weren't in Florida, then you're introducing yourself from the future, and then you're in the past. The same thing happened on Spade and Carvey this week because they record bookends like we do, and they did the show, the middle part of the show, the week before the Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary, and then they did the bookends the week after. So they had to go. So they were like talking about what they talked about before the show, and it was very confusing. Just like when you were in Florida and not in Florida. All I know is that the Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary, Jack Handy came out of retirement and did an extra episode of Deep Thoughts, and
Nice.
he wasn't on it, but he did do a Deep Thoughts, and we like he didn't come on our 50th anniversary, man. All right, what are we talking about?
Well, good thing we have quite the guest today. As part of our Quite the List, we have Kiersten Modglin.
Yes, amazing.
Prolific author, inspirer of authors. We talk about how she is just massively productive and how she does that, but especially how she has created her dream writing life and how you too can have the freedom to do that and to write how you want to write and to pursue the things that you want to pursue. So it's very inspiring while also a very practical conversation. So take notes, everybody.
Even if you're a 10th of productive as she is, there's tips in there.
Yeah, it's not about imitating every single thing she does, but I just hope you're like us, just inspired by what she does and to find your own path. Before that, we're going to have listener responses.
Oh, we are. They're special today.
Kiersten's going to give you all a new call to action.
Oh.
We're going to have a Hey John Myers segment where I teach John Myers something, and we're going to have we're going to play a silly game.
Is the prize going to be a venticular Valentine? Because I actually brought one this time so you could see what venticular is. See what it does?
See, I always would have called that holographic, but I guess they're different.
It's called venticular.
Nice.
No Bob sign. All right. We cleared that loose end up.
So first, how did we get out of our bubbles?
I went to Kroger. I ran into a former classmate of ours.
Oh.
Jackie Killian.
Aww.
I thought he was in Japan. He went to Japan the last time I saw him. So that, I don't know, that was 2020 or 2021 or whatever. And I'm like, hey, how long have you been back? Because he works at Kroger now. And I'm like, hey, how long have you been back? And he's like, 6 months. I'm like, I'm literally in this Kroger every Friday.
Oh, that's funny.
And so he was aware that you were having a baby. So congratulations, he said to tell you. And he was aware that we had a podcast, but he wasn't aware that we had a book out. So I gave him I had my card, so I gave him where he could download 2 free chapters.
Nice.
And there you go. I saw Jackie.
That's great. Good memory of him is that he would walk me to my car at night sometimes if it was really dark. So
I would totally believe that. He is so responsible.
Yeah.
Two very, I love them both, but very particular professors of ours hire him to watch their dogs.
Oh
And
yeah, I
because,
would trust him with anything. Yeah.
uh-huh, yeah.
It's really funny that you mentioned running to somebody at Kroger
Oh, that's what your
because
out of the bubble story is?
well, it's tied to it. So actually several episodes ago, I can't even remember which one it was at this point, I mentioned running into someone from college at Kroger and Aldi and like continually running into her until we finally just decided to get together.
Yes, I remember that
Well,
story.
we have at this point a couple times, and it
Oh.
ties into my story because I had a rough week.
Mm.
um, I had to do a gestational diabetes screening and failed, which means that I have to go back for another one. And because I have a lot of fears surrounding things like that, I was just having a really bad day on Friday when I found out that I had failed. Like a really bad day, like disproportionately. Like I think the pregnancy hormones finally hit because I've kind of gotten away with not having all the mood swings and stuff, but it was like Friday was like everything at once. And she had invited me over to just hang out. So I almost didn't go because I was like, I'm in such a bad mood. I'm so anxious and just like, I'm not going to be any fun. I'm not going to be able to like let go and just relax. But I remembered that in the past, whenever I've had anxiety or a bad day, getting out of my bubble actually is super, super helpful because it gets you out of your own head. It reminds you that you are a person that isn't just the person that you're stuck in that day. And so I was like, I'm going to go. And I had a great time.
Yay.
It was like as soon as I stepped into her house, I just felt like me again. And I didn't feel stuck in that same mentality that I was in. I was able to just kind of laugh and relax. And so I recommend that. Like if anyone is feeling like just kind of stuck in their head, it's really helpful to hang out with other people or do something that just feels more fun or relaxing or normal for you, um, to get you out of your head.
And it also broke a pattern. We've talked about that
It breaks a
before
pattern,
on the show.
exactly.
It breaks your pattern.
Exactly, yeah. Because it's again, it's just like that being stuck and repeating that same pattern of thoughts making you feel physically not good, and then the physical feelings making your thoughts worse, and just circling over and over again. And even just physically getting out of that space, getting out of the house was very helpful.
Did you take a syringe with you and steal some of her blood that you could take to the doctor's office?
No, I did not. I'm curious. So the next time we record, I will have taken that test and I'll know my results. So we'll we'll see how things go. I'm
So
trying
this
not
one
to.
is airing on the for the first time on the 25th. Will it be before or after that? Can we ask people to pray for you, or will you
It will have
already have?
already happened, but you can definitely pray for my mental health with whatever results happen because
Okay.
I have ideas of what I want this delivery to look like, and the results will kind of determine that. And I don't want to get so attached to a certain idea of what I want it to look like that I'm not willing to accept alternatives, right? I want to be open to whatever happens. So that's what you can be praying about, and I appreciate that.
Should have stole some of that lady's blood. That's all I can say. That's what I would have done.
And injected it into my arm. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know how what you do with it after that.
So I'm excited about
Viewer
these
responses.
viewer responses because I have no idea what they are.
I know they're a surprise for you, seeing that this is our 50th anniversary. All right. What does that say
I
there?
see. Right Better Together's 50th episode.
Yay.
And this
And
is looks like a YouTube video by Misty.
let's see what she has to say.
Aw.
Look who's celebrating 50. Congratulations to John Myers and Emily Brooks for celebrating their 50th episode of Write Better Together. And if you'll go to their recent book, Write Anyway, turn to page 50 and count up to the 50th word on that page. The 50th word is right.
Huh.
So to
What?
celebrate him and this accomplishment, I encourage you this week to sit down and write anyway, no matter what's going on, no matter what's on your mind or what you're busy with or what you may be stuck on. Go ahead and sit down and write to celebrate their 50th episode of Write Better Together. Congratulations, John Myers and Emily Brooks.
Aw.
I love that.
50 seconds. The 50th page. The 50th word was right.
That's amazing.
That
Thank
is
you, Misty.
totally amazing. Now, each of these people did something around 50, but wait till you see this next one. This is crazy. So, the next one, I didn't orchestrate these. I'll say the Holy Spirit orchestrated them. Let me see here. This is actually a viewer response where we told them to do something creative.
Oh.
Now, this is from Rachel Caldecott. That she went to page 50. I had no idea what page 50 was in our book. And
Yeah.
I did not even have the book in front of us. And the e-copy of our book doesn't have page numbers. And it was written by you, page 50, was written by you. As Misty has established, the 50th word was right. And this lovely coloring book picture here, that kind of looks like you, doesn't it? And there's a little 50 on the laptop, and there's 50 copies of my opus, number 1 through
Wow. So she
50.
drew this just for today?
She drew that just to surprise you for today. If only there were some more. We'll just leave it at
It's
that.
beautiful. I love it so much.
Isn't that amazing? And wouldn't that be fun to color?
Yes, it would.
That is just
Incredible.
amazing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rachel. Now we have one more.
Hi, I'm author Betsy Kulikowski, the best-selling author of the Veritas Codex Paranormal Thriller series. Let's talk about the number 50.
50.
Earning 50 reviews on Amazon is a significant milestone for any author. It offers several benefits that can elevate your book's success. First, it boosts visibility. More reviews helps a book rank higher in the search results, increasing exposure to potential readers. Amazon's algorithms favor these books, leading to higher placement and more organic sales. Reviews also lend credibility. Readers trust the opinion of others, and a book with 50 reviews signals that it's been widely read and appreciated and encourages others to take a chance on it. True. Positive reviews act as word-of-mouth marketing, helping to drive purchases. Reaching 50 reviews enhances an author's reputation, showing a commitment to their craft and signaling traction in their competitive market. It also lends to more opportunities for interviews and partnerships. While there is a legend that Amazon gifts authors with a unicorn for hitting 50 reviews, unfortunately, it's not true. But the milestone can feel magical, representing validation, visibility, and long-term success.
Aw. Thank you, Betsy.
I love it. I love
Betsy
that.
Kulikowski. If only when we get to the interview, I hope Kiersten Modglin talks about reviews.
I know, right? That's amazing. Thank you so much, Betsy.
Do you see why I had to interrupt the interviews to bring that in there?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're spade and carving it where we're talking about a thing that didn't happen, that happened before it happened, and so confusing.
Man, what an incredible list of viewer responses. Thank you so much, everybody, for sharing those.
People that responded with the 50s.
I love it.
Me too.
All right, so before we talk to Kiersten Modglin, let me introduce her to you all. Kiersten Modglin is a #1 best-selling author of psychological thrillers. Her books have sold over 1.5 million copies, which we will edit in the episode, and been translated into multiple languages. Kiersten is a member of International Thriller Writers, Novelists, Inc., and the Alliance of Independent Authors. She is a KDP Select All-Star and a recipient of Thriller Fix's Best Psychological Thriller Award, Suspense Magazine's Best Book of 2021 Award, a 2022 Silver Falchion, for Best Suspense. I don't think I'm saying that right, but we'll go with it. And a 2022 Silver Falcon for Best Overall Book of 2021. Kiersten grew up in rural Western Kentucky and later relocated to Nashville, Tennessee, where she now lives with her family. Kiersten's readers across the world lovingly refer to her as K-Mod, a binge-watching expert, psychology fanatic, and indoor enthusiast. Kiersten enjoys rainy days spent with her favorite people and evenings with her nose in a book.
She does not have time to binge watch anything. I'm sorry.
And as we'll talk about, she has just finished writing her 50th book.
Oh my gosh, just in time. So she did that just for us, just for our 50th episode. It's so nice of her.
Well, again, I hope you all are ready to take notes because this is a great conversation with Kiersten Modglin.
And we're back. I'm still John Myers. It's still Emily Brooks. Who's this other person?
It's Kiersten Modglin.
Oh my goodness.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, she has a mod squad, I heard.
I do have the best Paymon spot ever.
That's
There you go.
amazing.
That's all. That's all we wanted to talk. Acknowledge that you had a mod squad. Thanks for joining us today, Kiersten.
Thank you so much.
You're so like. So you watched the episode where I'm just jumping in, where we talked about you, and when Emily and I both saw you at Writer Fest, and how inspiring you were. But I think you've probably come up in every episode since then as well. And because we've learned this from Kiersten, we've learned this, and it's just been so inspiring personally for me. So this will be a positive challenge, but we already know things about you that our viewers and our listeners don't know, and so we're gonna pretend like we don't know anything, I guess, because they only know the little snippets that we've told them. I learned something new though. This has nothing to do with. It has a lot to do and nothing to do with what I had planned on talking about. I learned on your website that you do something that I do. I'm so like, no one does this. And we talked about it, Emily, on the episode with Pinar Tarhan in Turkey. And Kiersten listens to the same song through an entire project over and over and over and over. And when that song comes on, it triggers her brain. Hey, it's time to work on this. And I do the same thing with my screenplays, and I'll just listen to the same song for 6 months. And it tells your brain it's time to go to work. She also has a candle, though. I'm fragrance challenged, so I don't have my own candle to burn to trigger that scent. But talk about that before, and then we'll continue from there.
For sure. So yeah, I've kind of always done it, and it was not a plan. I never thought like, hey, this is how I'm going to write, and it's going to be something cool that I'll share with my readers. I would just always listen. I can't listen to just music because I'll sing along and I'm distracted. And but I like to listen to one song in particular until it basically becomes like white noise. I don't really hear it anymore. And so I've done that forever. And I love candles. Like you can see on the shelf behind me, I have a ton of candles. I get them from readers at this point, and I get them for holidays. And so I would always just burn one, and I don't write a book for long enough to like ever run out of the one scent. And so it kind of started just like that. I just always had a candle to like set the ambiance, and I would have music going. And I very quickly figured out that as soon as I would open the candle, I was kind of brought back into that world. Or if I was in the car and I heard that song come on, I was like, oh, and then I could do this with that story. And what if the character did this? And it was like, this is almost a hack. This is really cool. Like, it's pulling all your senses in. And so for the first several books, I just did it on my own. It was not anything I talked about. And years ago, I was on a live with my readers, and I was kind of chatting and telling them that somehow, came up that I do that. And by the time I got off the live, I had like 30 emails being like, can you share the song for this book? Can you share the scent for this book? And so rather than try to respond to all the emails, I was like, let's just put it up on the website and make it really easy. And so I had to kind of go back through like my notes and outlines and things for books and try to remember what songs and scents, for years past books. But yeah, so now I just keep it updated on the website. Each book has a song and a scent, and for certain books, it's more than one song. And what I try to do now that I know people are going to see the scents is I will try to incorporate the scents somewhere. So I had a reader send me a candle that's called Monkey Farts. And it smells like bananas. And I was like, well, that's a fun one. So I used it. And it was set at a hotel, and the whole hotel smelled like bananas. And they burn those candles. And so I have a story with a reader that hates or that loves grape lifesavers, and so the candle for that book was like grape soda. And so now I find myself like when I pick out a candle, I find a way to incorporate the scent into the stories often, which is fun. But yeah, it's just a kind of hack to get me in the mindset of that world.
I love that so much. And John Myers, you said your scent challenge. So I was like sitting here thinking, well, what could he do? Maybe there's like a certain snack or like a flavor of tea.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Or
could
like
be
a
a well
certain coffee roast or like
well, that's funny that you said that. It could be a drink because
yeah.
not well, I don't drink, but non-alcoholic drink. That because like when she said grape lifesaver, that made me think of Betsy Kulikowski's blackberry Dr. Pepper, right? And
Yeah.
but so everything that Kiersten just said is very much like what I told Pinar, and that's how I met Pinar, and that was a year ago. And she talked about I contributed to her blog like 10 years ago or 9 years. I don't remember how long ago it was. So I've been doing it for that long. I am not as productive yet as Kiersten is, so I don't have a 50 song playlist that I can post on my on my website, and because I have not I've completed 50 projects in the last 8 years. Kiersten has. Tell us what you've accomplished in the last. I guess it's going on 9 years now, but
Yeah.
all right, yeah. Tell us, just tell us that, man.
So yeah, I've been publishing since 2016. August of 2016 is when my first book came out. So going on 9 years now, and I just finished my 50th book. So I will be publishing that here in the next month or so. So yeah, I stay busy. I am constantly writing and releasing. I tend to do at this point in my career. I typically release every other month, so about 6 books a year.
Wow.
At the start of my career, I had 3 books that were already done, so I released those that first year. Then the next year, I had my daughter, so I only released 1 book. And then, certain years, one year I released like 8 books, and some years it's been like 5. So on average, it's about 6, and I've kind of found my groove at this point with 6, and that feels like a comfortable pace for me. But yeah, 50 books in 9 years. I don't feel like that's too bad.
Yeah.
When we saw you in Writer Fest, you said you take a week off in between each books, but between 49 and 50 you took a month because you wanted to like be really prepared for the big 50. That's what Emily and I did before this episode. Since it's our 50th episode, we took off a month. No, we didn't. And so I want to talk about that month for a second, but that was in November, dude. You took a month off, and the book's already done a month ago, right? You posted on Insta that you got it done a month ago. So, like, come on now.
Yeah, I took the month off. I was not off. I was still very much like plotting and thinking. It was just that the story only existed in my mind. So I was kind of playing around with this would be fun. And actually, originally, it only had one. It has 2 plot lines now, 2 like different timelines. And so it only had one the whole time I was plotting it in my head. And then at the very last minute, I got this really good idea, and I was like, oh, I want to write that now. I don't want to wait. And so I was like, how can I incorporate this totally different story into this book that I've already like mostly plotted in my head? And so a totally new character came about, and we have like 2 very different timelines that are related that'll be fun. And so, yeah, I really like taking that time. Usually, like you said, it's just about a week. But to give myself the space to kind of decide what excites me the most. I think that's what's so exciting about being independent is I don't have to write what I like committed to writing 6 months ago in my like, when I was pitching to a publisher. I can just write what I thought of yesterday if I want. And so that's really, I have ADHD, and I'm like jumping from this idea to that. And so it's really fun for me to be able to just be like, oh, and this should happen. So let me totally add that in. And yeah, so taking that time for me, book 50 felt really important, really big in a way that none of my books really have. And so I wanted to make sure it's special. I'm going to do some really exciting things just for my readers with this book. And so I wanted to kind of have the time to plan all of that out and get it figured out. And yeah, it's all coming together now. So I'm really excited.
So that wouldn't have happened had you only taken a week, where that extra
No.
whole entire storyline came on.
Yeah.
What else is different because you took a month instead of a week? What would you think?
Oh man. I think I know the characters a little bit better. Typically as I write, I'm not one of those writers that like will sit down and write out, huge lists of their characters' favorite foods and what they like to drink and how they relax after a long day and what music they listen to. I have friends that are like that. I think it's so good. I feel like for me, it's a waste of time. If I do that, I don't use any of it. I'm like, it does me no good to know what this character's favorite song was because it never came up in the story. I kind of discover things about my characters as I go. So as I come up to, they're listening to music, then I decide what their favorite song is. It's never something I just like pre-plan. But with this one, I kind of got to, the characters ruminated in my head for a lot longer than they typically do before I'm writing. So they feel really real to me. And like I said, all my characters feel real, but it's just a different level of, I got to hang out with them for longer, I guess is the best way to describe it. They were, it takes me 2 weeks to a month to write a book. And so typically I have a week to figure it out and then maybe a month to finish it. And so I'm with them for 5 to 6 weeks. And this time I got to really sit with them for like two-ish months. And I'm still in edits now, so, I'm still with them. But yeah, they feel more real and I feel more immersed in that world. And then, like I said, I'm doing some fun like surprises that have to do with the book. And so I'm really trying to bring it to life in all kinds of ways. Yeah.
Do you do a lot of outlining usually? Because when you say you take a week break before writing again, is that before outlining or is it before like actually putting words on the page?
Yeah, so I do outline, and that's before outlining.
Okay.
Typically, my outlines are very sparse. I know some people write like 10,000 word outlines. Mine are usually, I break it down by chapter, and each chapter gets about one sentence. And so I always joke, and anybody that's listened to me talk about this has heard me say these lines because I go with it. But it'll say like chapter 1, Sarah meets John. Chapter 2, Sarah kills John. Chapter 3. And so it's very, I just need to know where I'm going. But I do like to have that roadmap, and it changes. I give myself full freedom to change and pivot and decide this twist works better and this character is actually evil. And I get to do all of that. But I like having a roadmap, and I feel like it helps me write much faster if I can sit down each day and look at the outline and say, this is what happened yesterday and this is where I need to go today and how do I get there. So yeah.
And similarly, like, you mentioned editing, so are you often editing a project while writing a project at the same time?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I try to write a book every month. Like I said, I take that week off. So I constantly have at least 2 projects going, one in edits and one being written. And typically then there's one also being marketed. So I'm in 3 different worlds, and I have to make sure I keep it straight. But yeah, I at least have 2 going at almost all times. And then, like I said, the third one is usually something that released, like my last book released in January. And so I'm still technically marketing that one. So yeah.
I think you talked about this at Writer Fest, but how are you time blocking that? Like, because it seems like that would be overwhelming to have 3 different kind of worlds, like books that you're working on at the same time.
For sure. I think writing takes up most of my day. And when I have edits going on, the edits always take priority. So I schedule my deadlines when I figure out my outline and I figure out, I have this many chapters to write and I have this amount of time to do it. I always figure out, my editors and my proofreader, we're a well-oiled machine at this point. We know exactly when books are coming and going. And so I can say, I know that book will come back from my editor on this day. I need to have it back to her on this day. And so I can block those days out. So I never edit and write on the same day.
Okay.
So the book that I'm writing will kind of just take a back seat. I know I have to get it done by this day, but those edits take priority. I need to get those done and back to keep us on schedule. And so that's really important. I'm a checklist person. I know down to, the day and the minute what I need to be doing at all times. And so, and like I said, my editor and proofreader are amazing and working with my chaotic schedules. And they work very quickly and, are able to really dedicate themselves to my stories. And so it really helps to figure that out. And then as far as everything else, because being independent means I'm also designing the covers, and I'm not that you have to, but I personally do my own covers. But I'm also doing my ads and my newsletter and responding to emails and all of that sort of thing. And so that kind of has to fit around. I block my day by it's all dedicated to the writing, and the rest can come in the evening when I'm, have a minute there, or, first thing in the morning if I have emails I know I need to respond to. But my true love is the writing, so that will always come first, and then the rest is squeezed in between doctor's appointments and taking my daughter to gymnastics and all of that stuff.
This is like this. This is my playlist, man. This is like the sweetest melody to hear this amount of productivity crammed into day after day after day. I love every. This is music to my ears. I love every minute of this. Another thing I love that you mentioned at Writer Fest was you're very self aware, right? And so what's going to happen during like an 8 hour writing shift. That like the first hour and a half, it is not going to be as you're not going to end up using it, right? Yeah. So even that's worked into your time slotting.
Yeah, I know on average I can write about 2,500 words an hour, and so that is and that's like good. So that's good for me. I can slop words down at a much faster rate. And in the beginning, I tend to do that. I write a little bit faster in my early, like when I'm first sitting down, because I know I just have to get myself kind of into the zone, into flow state, is what people call it. And so I know that first little bit, I just need to write. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to use it. I just need to get myself into the story, fully immersed into it. I've got my song and my candle, and it's all working to get me there. It takes me typically about 30 minutes to get to feeling like what I'm actually writing is going to be usable. And so I just know, like, write words. It doesn't matter what it looks like. Just no one's going to see it. Just write it. And then, yeah, about 30 minutes to an hour in, that's when I'm fully immersed in it. If I haven't been distracted, if, my phone hasn't gone off or someone hasn't come into my office to interrupt me, I'm usually good at that point. So I know, like, on average, I can be done with my work day in about 4 hours, as long as everything goes perfectly. I try to write, honestly, I can be done faster. I try to write about 5,000 words a day, but I give myself those 4 hours because I know I'm going to go, pause it, go back and look at the outline and what am I doing here? And actually, I changed my mind. I don't like that. I want to fix this. And so 4 hours is like my typical, I need to have at least 4 hours a day. I like to write for 6 to 8. I like to get ahead of schedule. I like to be able to have freedom to kind of play around with scenes that maybe won't work, or, things that I like to try this, but this character feels different than I meant for him to. So let me, fix that or clean that up. I like to give myself space, but I know that I need at least 4 hours typically to feel like I've done what I needed to do. And so, yeah, my days are definitely plotted around and planned around knowing that. And then like I said, get it all done as quickly as possible. And then I have the evening or afternoon to, do whatever else I needed to do and write some extra words if I have time.
Tell them what your timer,
what
that 4 hours consists of.
Yeah. So I don't know if I'm saying it right. I say Pomodoro method. Is that? I don't know how to say it, but that's.
I always say it wrong, but I think that's actually right.
I think yes, it's correct. Pomodoro.
Okay. I believe it's right. That's how I say it. If I'm wrong, somebody out there will know. But so it's 25 minutes of writing and 5-minute breaks. It really works for my brain. If I feel like I just have to write for 25 more minutes, or 20 minutes or whatever. But basically, I bought a timer on Amazon. You can set it up on your phone or however. but I have a timer on Amazon from Amazon that you set it down and it, runs for 25 minutes and then it beeps and then you turn it over and it has 5 on the other side. And that will count down. And so for those 5 minutes, I can do whatever I want. I can, run and get a drink. I can play on my phone. I can do stretches. I can, do whatever comes to mind for those 5 minutes, and then I'm right back to it. Now, what I will say is once I'm like in flow state and working, I tend to ignore that timer and I'm not paying attention to it anymore. But there are certain days that I'm fully distracted. I have a million things. I'm waiting on an email, and so that timer really, really helps on those days where I'm like, nope, you can't touch your phone. It doesn't matter that it went off. You have 19 more minutes. Let's get this done. And so that's really helpful to just kind of, because I'm very much like a push through kind of person, whether I'm, like I said earlier, whether I'm feeling the story at that point or not, I just need to push through and get to a point where I know I will be. I always say kind of the middle of the story is every single middle of my book. Of any book that I've written, 50 books in, I'm like, this is the worst book you've ever written. It's going to ruin your career. No one will ever read you again. Every book. And by the end, I love it. I'm like, this is so good. You're amazing. You're brilliant. That middle point is awful. And that hasn't gone away for me. And so finding little tricks like that, like pushing through because you're on a time limit, it really helps me get through that messy, muggy middle. I don't know. So it's really nice.
When you're in flow state and you're ignoring the timer, are you still flipping it over but ignoring it, or you
no? No, once I hit it, I forget the timer is even there. I just go until I get distracted again. My phone goes off, and then I have to start all over. Shonda Rhimes, she wrote a book called Year of Yes. I love her, and she talks about how writing is like a marathon, and the beginning is so hard, and then you're running and you don't notice, but then if someone interrupts you, it's like you're all the way back at start again, and then you have to like get to where you were. And so I always describe it like that. When something has interrupted me, I'm right back at start. I have to like slog through writing all the words that aren't going to be used because I just need to get back into feeling the story. But yeah, no, once I'm there, I leave that timer alone and I'm ready to write.
Out of curiosity, so you said about 5,000 words a day. How long are your chapters?
Oh, my chapters typically are pretty short, like 1,500 words-ish.
Okay, so you're writing a couple chapters a day. Because I was curious, like, do you intentionally try to begin with a chapter and end at the end of a chapter? Or does it not matter where you are in the chapter?
Yeah, no, I write 5,000 words on average, but I don't actually do it by word count. I do it by chapter. That seems to work. I used to try, everyone was like, you should aim for a certain word count a day. And for me, that didn't work because I would do exactly like you're saying. I would end up in the middle of a chapter and I'm like, this part's really good. Or I would be at a part that didn't feel great and I wanted to figure out why. So I really like to like kind of have everything rounded up and at the end of a chapter and ready for the next one. And so I typically like, I would say about 4 to 5 chapters a day is kind of my normal. But again, it just depends on when I start and when I end and how many chapters. Some of my books have, 30 chapters and some have 45 or 50. So it really just depends on all of that too.
Yeah, that's exactly why I asked, because it does seem like when you can complete that, it feels more like, okay, I did that, and then the next day you're back into the next thing. And
exactly.
Because it's kind of like how when you're reading, like the end of a chapter, like kind of compels you to read the next chapter, and so the next day you're ready to like tackle that. It seems like it would be very motivating.
Exactly. It's really easy to kind of, and especially like because of the way I outline, to know exactly where I am and where I need to be. And, especially like when you ended a really good chapter and you're like at a cliffhanger part where you want to write the next one, then it is like you're coming in and you're really excited. Those are the days that I'm like, can I get one more chapter in, but it feels good for my like checklist brain to have that chapter done. And I, on my outline, I'm going in and like, crossing it out, like strike through on the, word processor thing. But I like to mark through my chapters, so I want the whole chapter done so I can do that.
Okay, so you're talking about the middle, and this is almost a personal question because I often get so stuck where I might go, I don't know which direction, like maybe I had an outline, but then my characters kind of went in a different direction, or I felt like I have two paths that they can go, and I get stuck. Is that something that you just write through, like kind of like just keep writing, or do you have to ever just pause and like reevaluate what's
Yeah.
going to happen?
So particularly what you said about you have two different directions that you could take it. That's something I struggle with a lot, and I found when I'm having writer's block, quote unquote, um, it's most often because I have too many possibilities of how something could go. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I could do this, and this person could be bad, or this person could be bad, or this could happen. And I get to the point where there's so many options that it's almost like debilitating. Like I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know what I want to do. And so for me, I have two things. I will typically go take a shower. For whatever reason, my like best ideas come to me in the shower. So I'm like, I'll go take a 5 minute shower, just stand in the water and just think with nothing, no phone to distract me. If that doesn't solve it, then I will just pick whichever one I feel best about in that moment and I'll write it. And there have been times that I've written it and it's been wrong. But writing through it will tell me that it's wrong. And as I'm writing it, I'm like, nope, this isn't it. And sometimes I have the whole book done and I'm like, nope, that was wrong. I have to go fix it.
Oh,
Most often I can figure it out as I'm writing it, chapter or two in, I'm like, no, this wasn't right. I need to go back. But yeah, I think for whatever reason, my brain is, I don't ever have writer's block in that I don't know what I want to write, or I don't, know which direction I want to take. I don't know what I want to write. My problem is that I don't know what direction I want to go. I have
yeah.
this, so many options, and that will cause me to pause. And I'm not typically one to take multiple days to think things through. I'm more of a go with my gut, and we'll see if this is how I like it. Like I said, at most I'll take a 15-minute shower. If that doesn't solve it, then we're just pushing through and seeing what happens.
I think that's a really good advice, because I think I and other writers may get stuck because we're so attached to this book as like it has to be absolutely perfect, and but you don't know that like sometimes the different path that you choose doesn't actually affect the quality of the book. Like it would be just as good either way.
Yeah.
Or like you said, you write the words and then you can go back and fix it. But we get like hyper fixated on the words we're writing today and how those have to be right, and like maybe just being a little bit too mentally attached to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Rather than like this is adaptable, this can be changed. And also when you're writing 50 books, it's like, well, another book could potentially go in that direction, and I can try that with that book.
Exactly. I think you guys kind of talked about this when you on the episode where you talked about me, I think, but that's one of my favorite parts about, like, because I am so prolific and because I have so many books out, it's like I don't have to be so precious and particular about my stories. I will never put out a story I'm not proud of. I will never put out a story that I don't love and that I did not put my all into. But I don't agonize over, is it perfect? Is it going to be this, blockbuster breakout? Is it going to be, because the thing is, I've had books that I felt that way about and they weren't. And I have books that I'm like, this is it. This is going to put me on the map, and it goes out and it, it's nothing better than any of my others. And then I have books that I'm like, this is just a throwaway. I love this story, but most readers aren't going to love it like I do. And I put it out and then it blows up and I'm like, what, you can never predict what's actually going to be good. So agonizing over making it perfect and making it like everything you want it to be, for me, I've just found that it's such a waste of time. I'm just like, let's write the story that I enjoy, that I feel like my readers are going to enjoy, and then half of them are going to love it and half of them are going to hate it, and that's just reality. And yeah, so it makes it really kind of freeing, because you're like, this one doesn't have to be great because the next one might be, and I don't have to use that because I can use it in this one. And yeah, I know it's not for everybody. I know that the way that I write and the way that I do this job and this business isn't for everybody. There are some people that want to just have one really great, great American novel and and that's wonderful. I'm not that way. I have too many ideas. I have too many things I want to explore and things I want to say to the world. So for me, it's just like, let's just get as many books out as possible and let people enjoy the ones they're going to enjoy, and feel proud about what we're doing. And like I said, there's just no predicting, what you think is going to be great might not be, and what you think is not going to be great might be amazing. So rather than try to predict it or stress over what's going to be what's going to break you out. I think that what's really cool is you can just throw it out there and be proud of it and then move on.
I like that you said that it was freeing, because of there was probably 5 key points that we talked about in that previous episode, and and every one of them, they all were freeing. If even like if this one doesn't sell, oh well, another one's coming out in 2 months, and that was so liberating for me to hear that, and because people will like, and I like to use the word agonizing, because people will agonize, and it, people there are people, not no two people are alike, and so there are people that are watching this right now and they're like, I need a nap after this, and just watching this, and that but there are things people will say you can't teach creativity, and but you can trigger it, and you've given in this first 15 minutes, you've given things where music has triggered your creativity, a shower has triggered your creativity. You certainly can't, like, even if it's innate in your subconscious, there are things you can do to trigger it, and there's things you can avoid to make sure that it's not getting pushed down, and so again, even that's freeing. I don't know that there's a question in there.
I love it.
It's good.
Though.
It's well said.
It's exactly, and I think you guys said this on the podcast, like it's going to work for some people and it's not going to work for others, and that's true for everything creative, whether you're on the creative side or whether you're the consumer, the reader. Certain things are going to work and certain things aren't, and I'm just trying to have fun. Like, I love what I do. I don't want to make this a stressful thing. I don't, and not, this isn't to say like I went into book 1 and I was like, I don't care if this is good, we're going to write a book 2. Of course I wanted my book 1 to be good. And, to me it was. That doesn't mean it's my most popular. It's definitely not my most popular. Book 2 wasn't. Book 3. So what got me where I am and why I have this mindset now is I have 50 books, and I have readers who love all 50. I have readers who love 32 of them. I have readers that love one of them, and they're like, I don't know what you were doing with the rest of those. And I'm okay with that. And I went through, being just devastated when readers were like, I loved your first one, but your second one, wasn't it. Or I loved your first 15 and number 16 lost me. But then you get to where you see readers that love all the things that readers criticize, or, the things that you were really excited about, people get excited about. And even if, some readers don't enjoy that, the right readers do. The readers that you wrote that book for do. And so it's been me finding my way to that, freedom, and to being in a place where I can say, I'm okay if no one likes this book. I'm okay if it's just me. If it's just me on my mountain saying this was a good book, I'm okay with that, because exactly like you're saying, in 2 months I'll have another one, and you might love that one. And I have to, I have to believe that that's an okay place to be. Like, it's a place where I'm happy and can support my family with what I do, and my readers are out there, and like I said, I have readers that love every single one, so I know I'm doing something right. But yeah, it's just, at the end of the day, all I'm trying to do is like have fun and be happy with what I'm putting out in the world, and the rest is uncontrollable.
It's very, I don't know if you're aware of this, Kiersten, but it's a very Lynchian worldview. Like, David Lynch would have people who, I love this movie, but I hate this movie, and or I don't like this movie. I didn't understand this movie at all. Well, do you understand everything that happened to you yesterday in your real life? No. Yeah. And so that takes off all the pressure once you understand that. You don't have to understand everything. You don't have to like every one of those things. And it's very much, he wasn't as prolific as you are, but it's very much the same. You're just comfortable, and you're very self-aware and comfortable in your worldview. And I think that's so freeing.
Thank you.
Talk about the since you mentioned, you had me up until book 16 or whatever. Talk about the stuff where at book 17 your husband could like talk about that journey.
Yeah, so I have, like I said, been writing since 2016. I was not breaking even. I was, as an indie author, I'm putting everything into this. I was hiring cover designers, I was hiring editors, I was hiring PR teams to do, art tours, and I was paying for all my ads and everything, and not breaking even, digging us, very far into debt. My poor husband is like, I don't know how much longer we can do this. We did not come from any type of money. We were both working day jobs at banks. We had no like family that was doling out loans. Like it was just us. And so it came to a point where I was like, well, I'm either going to have to slow down, which feels like the opposite of what I want to do, because the way that I feel like I'm going to grow is by staying, at this speed or going faster. Or I'm going to have to teach myself how to do what I'm doing. And so that was when I taught myself how to do my own cover design, how to do my own formatting. And I really like every place that I could put my time versus my money. I taught myself how to do that. And, it made it where we could continue to I could continue to publish at the rate that I was, which really helped. Still, we weren't, making money, but I at least was, not digging us too far into debt like I was. Saving a couple $100s for every release was nice. And then so I don't know if I mentioned this at Writer's Fest, but I actually like left my day job in 2018, and I was like, I'm finally making a little bit, like enough that I can stay home. I had one decent release that was doing well, and a few months later, that decent release started being like all my others, and I had to go back to work with my tail tucked and be like, didn't make it. Like I tried really hard, but it didn't work, and so I had to like go back to work, and it was so mortifying. I'd made posts on social media being like, I'm a full-time writer, and so it was just like a really dark time, and I'm like back in banking, like, cashing people's checks, and I'm just like, I'm a writer. Like, it was such a bad time. So I went back to work, and I was, still releasing, and had extra money to kind of put into my marketing and everything. And thankfully, that was in early 2019. And then at the end of 2019, I had a few decent releases again that had kind of picked up. And at that point, I was sleeping like 4 hours a night. I was getting up, going to work, like getting up at 6, taking my daughter to daycare, going to work, coming home, picking her up, doing like dinner, bath, bed. And then I would write from the time she went to bed, so like 8 o'clock until like 2 or 3 every morning. Then I'd go to bed, get back up at 6. And I did that, for that entire year. And I was exhausted and I was tired, and I'd been doing something similar to that for years. And so at the end of 2019 in November, I was like, okay, I'm finally making enough. Like I've had 2 really good releases. We're not paying for daycare, we're not paying for my gas, I think I can do it. Like I think I can finally stay home. Like we're not going to be, striking it rich by any means, but like I think with those expenses taken out, like maybe I can bring in a little bit. And so that was, like I said, November of 2019. And then in March was COVID, and my husband got laid off. And so we went from having, having 3 incomes to suddenly having 1. And it was my tiny little writing income. That wasn't even going to be enough to pay like a single bill. And so what I did with that was I was like, no one's hiring. Like we can't fix this problem. You are now home, so you watch our daughter, and I'm going to write nonstop. I'm going to lock myself in my office. I'm going to write 8 hours a day like it's a day job, and we're just going to like release. And so, like I said, I'd already had a few decent releases, and by June of that year, so from March to June, I was releasing every month. That's the year I released 8 books. I was making more than my husband and my old income combined. Wow. And so I went from not breaking even to breaking even, to like doing very well. And so I was able to retire him with like book 18. I think I started breaking even at like book 15, and book 17 was when I was making money, and book 18 I was retiring my husband. So everything changed in the blink of an eye. And granted, it was like I said, during COVID, so it was kind of one of those, my parents were like, you're crazy, you guys need to like have insurance and have day jobs, and this is not smart. And we were kind of like, well, the world's kind of shut down right now, so if it doesn't work out, we'll just figure it out when the world opens back up, but we'll just try it. And it's been the most amazing, most beautiful He's been home since then, since he got laid off in March, and we're years later now, and we've been able to keep up this pace. And we homeschool our daughter because we travel to do signings and stuff, and so they've gotten to be a really big part of my world. And it's been the biggest blessing. That was the scariest few months of my life. We were very, very broke there for a while, but it's just been the biggest blessing. And it really goes to show you. And I always say, like, I'm still in that scarcity mindset. Like, it doesn't feel that long ago that we weren't doing well. And so it just goes to show you how quickly your life can change, and how quickly, like, consistency can pay off.
You're she, by the way, she's sold 1.5 million books. I don't think we've mentioned that yet.
Yeah.
The year where you had 8 books, and in your 1.5 million, you said, like, the number one was 600,000, the next one was 200,000. That big of a gap. Were any of those 8 those 2 books, or were they below the 200?
So my best-selling book has sold a little over 200,000 copies, and then my next one is like 60,000 or something like that.
Okay, I got the numbers backwards.
Numbers a little off, but that's okay. You had the numbers right, just some extra zeros. But yeah, so no, my 200,000, it's close to 250 now, but it's the arrangement, which I released. So that was 2020, and I released that in January of 2021. So it took off right after all of that. But yeah, no.
So that story of your financial, whatever, I don't want to say breakthrough, but financial stability came with 8 just regular selling books.
Yep. 8 of my, like, moderately selling.
That's a good way to say.
I mentioned this at Writer Sus, but I'm in a group called 20 Books to 50K. And I joined it back when I was, just starting out. And the, like, mentality behind that group is, if you have 20 books out, you should be making $50,000 a year, which is like the average salary, and you should be able to support yourself on your writing. And that's making $7 per book per day, or I don't know, something like that. And so it's not having any huge books is kind of the thing. You're not expected to be the next Gone Girl. You're not expected to have a Stephen King level book. You're just expected to have consistent books that all sell decently well, and that add up. And so I remember when I joined it, and back before I was writing full time and everything, I was like, so if I have 100 books and they all make $3, a day, or, I can make this work. And so it really, like, in my mind, was like math. I was like, okay, yeah, I can do this. I can figure out exactly how, like, what my books are making right now. If I do nothing, if I don't get any better than I'm doing now, how many books do I need to start, like, replacing my salary? And so, yeah, I think it's really cool, and kind of, again, like, freeing. We're just going to stay on that word, I guess, but freeing to know you don't ever have to have a huge breakout book. And even my book that sold over 200,000 copies, it's still not a breakout. It's not, even in bookstores, it's not, one that if someone's like, hey, what have you written that I know? I'm not going to say The Arrangement, because they're probably not going to have heard of it. But it's all of my books consistently selling, and that's what, keeps us afloat, and it's really amazing.
At this rate, when do we stop saying, if everything stayed at this rate that it's at right now, when do we stop saying 1.5 and we say 2 million?
Oh, I'm really close. I'm actually, like, I'm at, like, 1.8 right now.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that by, like, June I'll be at
oh my goodness.
So I'm really, really close.
That's awesome.
I'm just like, every time I add it up and it just, like, inches closer, I'm like, it's still not there, but I mean, I'm excited.
By June. Great. I'm glad I asked that.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm curious about is advertising, and we talked about the Mod Squad.
Yeah.
Did I say that right?
So my readers call me K-Mod, which my name's Kiersten Modglin, so, like, okay, combining it. So they call themselves either Modglings or
Modglings,
which is so fun, or K-Mod Squad.
K-Mod
Squad. Yeah. And so I run with it. I'm like, how did I not come up with either of those? But it's truly been, my readers, like, started calling me K-Mod, and I was like, K-Mod Squad's cute. So I did come up with the squad. But then, like, literally 2 months ago or something, someone was like, we're the Modglings. And then that's just taken fire. And I'm like, Okay, I'm 9 years into this. Never thought of it once. Thanks, guys. So, but yeah, that came on spot anyway.
Yeah, with all of the writing that you do, and you talked about marketing early on and having to pay for advertisements and all of that. Like, how has that progressed over the years in finding your readers initially and then keeping that community engaged?
Yeah. So one thing I'm very very aware of, and I hope that if you look at any posts that I make or read my acknowledgments in every single book, you see it and you hear it. I know that I would not be here if it weren't for my readers, and I know that I would not be able to give my family and my daughter this beautiful life without them. And I know that um, everything that I've like wanted since I was 7 years old would not be what I'm living if it weren't for the fact that like people took time out of their days with millions of other books out there to read mine. And so for me, it will always be readers, not fans. Readers is about us. It makes it a joint thing. They're not my fans; they're my readers. Fans feels too like it's about me, and it's not. It's about like what we create together. And so I always like when I speak to them, I'm like, look what we did. Like when I get an award or when um, when I hit a level on the charts, I'm like, look what we did, guys. Like this is as much theirs as it is mine, and I truly feel that way. Like it's always a shared thing. There are a million other authors that are just as good, better than I am, and they choose to read mine. And so, like for me, there's a certain gratitude that I like will convey in everything I ever do. I when I get to go meet them, it's so exciting. I have readers that have been with me since book 2, that have been here forever, and so one thing that's always been important to me is building that community. And I have a group on Facebook, and I have a newsletter, and um, I try to stay available to them. I'm still the one that responds to every single email. I'm still the one that responds to all my comments. I get that question all the time. They're like, "Is it really you?" It's always me. If my husband ever does it, it's from his own page, like in our group, and he's the only one. Like it's just us. So I try to just be like that person that is available. I'm never gonna like put up that wall between my readers and myself. Or I'm gonna always try not to anyway. Um, but I will say, like, you can put out as many ads as you want, and you can run, newsletter ads and all this stuff. But if you don't have word of mouth, you have nothing. And I learned
Yeah.
that the hard way. I was pouring money into ads, and none of them were ever as effective as a single Facebook post in a group about books. Um,
Mm.
no matter what I do, none of it has any power without my readers being out there and being like, you should check out Kiersten Modglin. You should read K Mod's books. Like she's so good. And so, like I said, like being grateful is super important. I do fun stuff with my readers. Like, I give them chances to appear in books. So I do giveaways and let them like name a character. So I have readers
I
that,
love that.
are in book 12 and they're still with me, or, so that's like a cool way for them to be like, I've been here since then. And, you can see it. Like I was in that book. Or, I do like scavenger hunts. Like I've done giveaways before where they can, I put a list of items in a book where like red lipstick and, a certain candle or whatever. And I like let them find it. And then if they find it, then they can win something. And so I do stuff like that. With book 50, I'll give you guys kind of an exclusive, but something fun that I'm doing is I put every single title of all 50 books technically in this book. And so I'm doing like a
Oh,
bingo
wow.
board. And so they can go as they read, they're going to look for those titles like hidden throughout. I try to do like Easter eggs, like certain characters will make appearances in other stories. Um, I just really try to like, even though most of my books are standalones, to make it feel like a collective world. And like it's their world as much as it is mine. Um, and yeah, I don't know if that answered your question, but I really like value community. And I think that, like I said, I can run ads all day long and none of them will ever be as effective as just one single post from a reader who truly loves my stories and, a TikTok or whatever. And it makes all the difference to have that. I've had, one of the questions that you guys probably get a lot too is, like, how do you get a lot of reviews on your books? And the answer is not one that the author's like, it's not one I like to give, but the answer is you just have to have enough readers. I would do all these things. I'd give away arcs all over, and I would, post constantly reminding like, please, if you liked it, review it. And until I just had enough readers out there reading and talking about it, none of those reviews came. They're all organic. And so it just, all of it comes from, having readers that care. And I think that being, like I said, feeling like they're part of a community makes them care even more. So I really try to give them that and build that and foster it in all the spaces I can.
We actually
I think that's a
about,
great.
go ahead.
I was going to say I think that's a great answer. There's a book by Donald Moss called the Writing the Breakout Novel, and his argument in the beginning of the book is that if you haven't written a breakout novel, it doesn't matter how much you invest in marketing. It's all about the novel and connecting to the reader, and if it does that, then the readers will come.
Exactly. Yep. There's nothing on the author side of things that we can control aside from the story, and that's what matters at the end of the day. And then the readers have to find it, and they have to love it and believe in it from there. And the sad thing about that is there are so many great books out there that just haven't been found yet. And that is awful and frustrating. But the good thing is, and the way that I've always believed and gone about my business is, when people find whatever one of my books is going to be my breakout, when they find that, I want them to have as many books as possible to go back to and enjoy. And then you have built up this huge world and really set yourself up. And so I'm just continuing to write until I finally find my, breakout novel and find the one that brings me the success. But at the end of the day, it won't be that one book. It will be, this collection of stories that I've created.
So what I was going to say before was that it would just be weird if I didn't acknowledge it. Before you came on, Kiersten, we were talking about reviews. So the power of reviews. And so I had to point that out. So on your events, so you just got back from Tropicon. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
And what percent would you say were people new to you, or were your K-Mod squad people who came out to see you? That's my first question. And then my second question is, I saw the picture where you're standing in front of all of your books. Is that all of your books? Were there 50 books there?
So I have 50.
Well, 50 is not out yet. So
right.
Was every book that's out, were they all there?
All of them except I have 2 novellas that I don't bring to signings just because I charge one price for all the books. And so I don't want to complicate it with having 2 books that are a different price, and that just gets crazy. But yes, all the others, so 47, were there.
Awesome.
And I would say 100% were K-Mod squad readers. I don't think I had a single. I was talking to my husband about this because normally the vast majority of readers that I meet are like, I've never read you. What do you write? What's interesting? And before I did this, I did a lot of posts about, come see me in St. Augustine. And I posted in a few book groups that I'm in, and almost every single reader was like, I saw your post in this group. I saw your post in that group. And even the ones that didn't say that were like, I'm here to see you. I came to see you. Or they were telling me about whatever books, that they'd read and loved. And so that was my first experience like that. Most signings are not that way. They're typically like I said, people who've never heard of me, or I go to the indie author conventions are typically heavily romance. So they're like, do you have any romance? And if I don't, then they're like, okay, bye. So this was my first experience of feeling like I actually belonged here, and people were excited to see me. And I had so many readers be like, I'm only here to see you. Like I drove 2 hours because I saw your post and I wanted to meet you. And it was such a surreal, like, as excited as they were, I was like inner fangirling because I'm like, holy cow, you came to see me. Like it was just so, and I put this, in my post at the end, kind of wrapping it up, of like, I've dreamed about events like that and about not sitting at a table and being overlooked. And this was such this beautiful, I mean, not that I don't always love the weekends and getting to meet any readers, but this was really special because it really felt like the readers were coming to see me and were excited to meet me. So that was fun.
And how many do you do a year, in-person events?
So it's kind of different every year. I've done as many as 8. I've done 3 or 4. And then this year, this is the only one I have scheduled so far. I have 2 or 3 others that are kind of like pending, depending on my situation. Like toward the end of the year. I just have some weird calendar stuff going on that I can't commit to anything yet. But yeah, so right now this is it. This could have been the only chance to meet me, but I'm sure I'll end up throwing together a few others, just depending on how the year goes.
Does I don't know how old your daughter is. Does she know you're famous yet? Like, does she see all these people come to meet you, and they're like, "Why are they coming to see my mom?"
So she's 8. She's kind of starting to figure it out now. When I remember one time when she was much younger, probably like 5 or 6, and she came in my room and I was signing books to send out, and she was like, "Why are you writing in your book?" And because like we don't write in books here, like she knows that, and so I was like, "I'm signing them for readers that want to see them." She's like, "Why do they want you to write in them?" And it was just such a cute. And then I'm explaining to her like, "Mommy writes books, and like the stories that you read, somebody wrote that, and I write books for readers." And so we went to Barnes and Noble a few days later, and she's like, "Did you write all of these books?"
Aw.
No, not quite. None of these books, but yeah. So she's just kind of figuring it out. And like I said, we homeschool her now, but before this year we didn't. And she had told her teachers in school, they were talking about parents and what they do, and she told them that I was an author. And it's not something I talk about, and like, not that I'm proud of it and stuff, but I never want to seem like I'm bragging. And then there's the inevitable question of like, have you written anything I've read? And that answer is always no, so I just don't talk about it. And so I went to pick her up that day, and her teachers were like, "So Charlie told us that you're an author," and we were like, "No, she's not." And she's like, "Yes, she is." Like, "So we had to cyber stalk you, and we found out that you are." So that was kind of a funny little moment. But yeah, she's kind of at an age where she's figuring it out, and now she wants to be a writer too, and so I think that's really.
That's what I was. That was my next question. So, did you tell her someday she will be signing her own book?
Yeah, so she actually wrote a book. Like she wrote it for me for Christmas, and I turned it into an actual physical book for her and surprised her with it. And so we gave it to like friends and family, and I let her sign it, and so she thought that was really cool.
Aww.
And she went to the signing with me, and she was like, "I should have brought my books and sold them." And, that's a good idea. I was like, "Next time we go to a signing, I will let you print out. We'll print out a few copies and let you bring them." I was like, "But you have to stay at the table the whole time. You can't wander around. You have to be there." So
I love that.
That's
Totally.
adorable.
but I thought that was really special of her feeling like she can kind of do anything, because I didn't grow up with that. Like when you don't have people around that have kind of like chased their dreams, it's very easy to kind of fall into the mindset of it's hard. That's a hard job. You should have a plan B. And that was kind of what I was told my whole life. And so it's nice to tell her like, you can do whatever you want. You just have to work for it.
We were at a book festival, and we have a viewer, Lauren, who came up to us in our booth, and her and her mom, they were selling her book. And like, how old is Lauren? Do you remember, Emily?
13?
10, 11, 13?
I'm
And
not sure.
so she's still part of our community now, and it started where she came, and we both bought her book. And if we saw your daughter at a book fair, we would buy her book as well. It's so great to encourage people, young people, before they're teenagers.
Exactly. I think so too.
Yeah, I love that so much.
Call to action?
Yeah. Ready for it?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Do I just go? Do I just say it?
Yeah. Tell them what to do.
Okay. So for the call to action, I was thinking, since this is the 50th episode and it's my 50th, I just wrote my 50th book, I would do something with 50 in it. And so something I do, like I mentioned earlier, I'm a huge list maker. And so every year I sit down and I write a list of goals that I want to accomplish. And these can be so simple, like drink an extra bottle of water a day, or it can be huge, like, write a script, or, whatever. So it can be literally small things, biggest things, doesn't matter. But my challenge for your listeners is to write a list of 50 things that they want to accomplish from today to whenever they're listening to this.
By tomorrow.
Right, by tomorrow. A year from the day that they're listening and they hear this.
A year.
Yeah. Get a whole year.
That's
But
great.
you got to put some big goals on there too.
While you guys are doing your 50 things, Kirsten will have another 8 books out by then.
Probably.
How do they get these 50 things to us, Emily?
Yeah, I would actually love to see those lists, or
Yes.
even just part of those lists. You can share those on social media when we share this episode on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Or you could respond on YouTube. Or if you want to send us like the whole list, you can also email it to us at writebettertogethernow@gmail.com.
Awesome.
Yay.
This has been amazing, man.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you guys for having me. This is fun.
So fun and so inspiring, and I really think our readers or our listeners are going to get a lot out of this. So we really appreciate you.
Awesome. Thank you. I hope they do. And I can't wait to read all the breakout and non-breakout books that come out of
Yes,
this.
everybody be sure to tag her in those
Yeah.
posts.
Yes, yes, yes.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
And we're back. KDP All-Star. She's a Write Better Together All-Star.
Oh,
Man.
she is. I also want to correct that it's falchion,
Oh.
not falchion.
Yeah. You know what that is?
sword.
That's one of those big, like, Alibaba curved swords.
It's a curved sword?
I thought it was a
yes,
curved
you're
sword.
right. It is, yeah.
Like a moon. Like a half moon.
No, not in the pictures that I'm looking at.
This is fake news. Don't listen to me. This is... I've exposed my ignorance about falchions.
Falchions.
Falchions. Falcons? This is a bird show. Speaking of 50s,
Yeah.
page 50 of
Oh.
Reason My Kid Is Crying. So you know is... Well, this is like a pretty normal one, I would guess. Poor kid. His dinner was not served fast enough.
Oh. I mean, yeah, that's anybody though, right? Like
That's what I do when my dinner's not served fast enough.
Yep, exactly.
All right.
Hey, John Myers.
Yes. It's time for me.
I have 5 facts because 5 is divisible by 50. Or 50 is divisible by 5.
Well, they both... 5 is divisible by
5
50,
times
so they
10
both
is
true.
50. But I didn't want to do 50 facts because that would take all day.
It would take a year, according to Kiersten Modglin, if the facts were the goals.
It's so, yeah. So I'm going to do 5 facts about the number 50.
Oh, I
And
like
none
this.
of them are what Betsy said, so that's good.
Wow.
First of all, did you know... Wait, is it okay if I don't have questions for this one?
I need a question.
What are the
Yes.
chances that when you flip a coin, it will land on its head?
5149.
Oh my goodness, that is correct.
I already knew that.
Hey, but
That's why
hey,
you always pick heads.
some of our listeners wouldn't know that. It also matters if you're flipping a penny, the head is usually like heavier because it has Lincoln's face on it. And so it's more likely to land on a head. It also is affected if you spin it. So there you go. It's 80%. I think it said it was 80% chance it was going to land on a head if you spin a penny.
Oh, I thought it was true for all coins. Always pick heads.
I mean, that isn't in this article, but I believe you because it makes sense that the head is heavier for like all coins, I'm assuming.
I believe that. This is not fake news this week.
Wow. Okay. How many leaves does it take to produce an apple, John Myers?
50?
Yes, correct. I think you're going to get all of these right.
Well, the first one I didn't say 50 and I got it right.
That's true, but most people would say 50.
Especially on a 50
So.
day like this.
Yeah. So it was a trick question. Yeah, it takes 50 leaves on a tree to produce an apple. I would go deeper, but I actually might talk about that in a later episode. that
Is
we've
this
already.
the show where you talk about trimming a tree to make fruit?
Shh. We haven't.
Is that this show?
No,
The Write Better Together show? I
that
knew I saw that somewhere.
that one hasn't come out yet, John Myers.
Oh, well. Come out 50 years from now, maybe.
Okay, there is a man who did a very special thing over 50 days. Can you guess what it is?
Someone did something for 50 days.
He did particularly 50 things in
50
50
things
days.
for 50 days. You stumped me. I
Oh.
don't know what this one is.
This man ran 50 marathons in 50 states in 50 days.
50 consecutive days?
Consecutive.
Is this Kiersten Modglin's brother?
Right?
Productivity episode.
Where does 50% of our world's oxygen come from?
The air. I knew that one. What? Where do you think it comes from? The water. That's where the other 50% comes from. 50% comes from the air. 50% comes from the water.
Where does it come from to get into the air?
Trees.
A lot of it comes from trees.
Water.
But yeah, almost correct.
Oxygen tanks.
So
the ocean.
The ocean.
Walgreens.
Why would it? I'm just gonna say the answer. From plankton in the ocean.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Now, this is a factor I have to add, kind of an explanation that it's a little bit iffy because they also know that the ocean is consuming a lot of that oxygen. And also, it's really hard to come up with an exact percentage, but they say about 50% is their estimate of how much oxygen comes from the plankton on the ocean.
Do you think so? I was sitting here with my arms crossed. Does that mean I have closed body language? Because I'm open to these facts, and so I intentionally uncrossed them so I didn't look like I had closed body language.
Oh, interesting.
Do you think that means that though? I'm open to the oxygen facts, so
I didn't even notice that you were doing that, to be honest.
Yeah.
So.
Anyway, can you eat plankton?
I don't know, but whales can.
Underwater?
That's what they eat, yeah.
Quails go underwater and eat
whales.
plankton? Oh, I thought you said quails. It's a bird show. Next. I wish there were 50 of these.
It is illegal to carry 50 kilograms of what in Australia, at least up until 2021?
Pennies.
Nope. This is a really tough one to guess.
Quail eggs, plankton, sourdough.
Do you want to try to narrow it down?
No, because at one time we played that game where I narrowed it down. I was like, food, animal, key lime pie.
I also had you play 20 questions once, but you didn't narrow it.
It was like 49 questions.
You didn't narrow it down to anything.
Key lime pie.
So what I mean is narrow it down to maybe a vegetable.
Oh. Carrots.
Close.
Because like a 50 carat ring. 50 carat diamond ring.
You're close with a carrot vegetable. It's a root vegetable.
Oh man, what does he eat? What does he love in my radishes?
Nope, those are not. Well, I guess those are root vegetables.
Radishes are root
vegetables. Different root vegetable that we eat all the time in America.
One of my characters loves, I think it's radishes.
I didn't know that, so I didn't choose based on what your character.
Well, tell me the answer and then tell me if maybe I'm forgetting which one my character loves. I think it's radishes.
This is a very common vegetable that most people eat almost every day.
Turnips. He loves turnips.
You eat turnips every day?
No, my character does. He loves turnips, man. He asks for extra helpings of turnips.
Okay, but what do most people eat?
I said carrots, roots. When you eat carrots, do you eat them out of a can or do you go
potatoes?
Oh. All right, but answer my question. Do you eat them out of like Bugs Bunny, chomp, 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 or do you eat them out of a can?
I don't ever eat carrots out of a can.
Okay.
Anyway, it's potatoes. There you go.
You
Up in
couldn't carry 50 potatoes through Australia?
50 kilograms of potatoes. You would
Why?
actually get an enormous fine for carrying.
For $50, I bet.
No, it was like $2,000
Oh my gosh, that's unfair.
plus the cost of the potatoes.
Remind me not to go to Australia next time I'm carrying 50 potatoes. Oh, you said they changed it though.
They did change it.
Thank God. Why do you think they changed that? Someone was like, I I've got to carry 50 kilograms of
Well, apparently
potatoes.
they're just very abundant. Like there are a lot of potato growers, and so it was like restrictive for people. So,
Yeah, I bet.
so there you go.
What
These are
about
the 5 facts.
what about what about potato farmers?
Yeah.
Could they not drive a truckload of potatoes?
Sorry, I should have clarified that unless you are part of the potato society
Oh,
of growers, that you had to have permission. So you can do it if you are like officially a potato grower. Yes.
note to self: join the potato society
Yeah.
of potato growers society. All right, I'm clear. I'm good.
So if you want to join the Potato Growers Society with John Myers, you can subscribe to our podcast wherever you're listening. And we would love to hear from you all. If you want to respond to calls to action or just let us know what you have learned from these episodes, we would love that. And write us a review so that other people can find us. We appreciate it.
Is there a specific bird that lives in potato fields?
I don't know.
Okay. I'm just trying to bring birds into our 50th episode. In a previous episode, you said I should not take Emily's speculation as fact, but I would like to make public on our 50th episode that Emily's speculation is fact in my book.
Wow.
You always put up these little things that down across the bottom, and it's like, oh, I was right in the first place. So your corrections are always just pointing out that you're correct.
I do that. I do indeed do that sometimes. Well, John Myers, that means that it's time for the final act.
Yay!
So you will be playing today
Yes.
for
50 something potatoes.
50 mini marshmallows.
Oh, dude, I want those. I love marshmallows. Yes, I'm coming through the screen.
There
Give me
is,
those.
I will say, there is a second place or a second tier prize, which is 50 chocolate chips.
Okay.
Which are only second tier because I thought it would fill this cup more. And it looks like barely anything.
I can't believe you counted those out. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Man, I love marshmallows.
So so does Winnie. It's the only thing the vet said she could have.
Oh.
As a snack. Obviously, we feed her real food. You will be playing 50-second story.
Oh, no. I wanted to win those marshmallows.
Well, that's why I have a second tier. And there's also a higher tier in which you may win both.
Can I switch them? Can my first act be switching them so the chocolate chips are the first tier and the marshmallows are the second tier?
Yeah, you could do that.
Yeah, okay. I'm planning for failure.
So your task
Yes.
is to tell a story in 50 seconds exactly without using a timer. I will be timing you. If you get within 5 seconds on either end of 50 seconds, then you get the marshmallows. Or sorry, the chocolate chips.
So the margin of error,
yeah,
the handicap is 5.
The handicap is 5. You would get chocolate chips. That's first tier. If you're within 10 seconds on either end, you would get to the marshmallows.
Shouldn't
if you
it
get
be
exactly 50 seconds,
you get both?
You get both. Oh, those smell
Shouldn't
good.
it be? Shouldn't it be a handicap of 50 since it's our 50th episode?
No. I
Well,
have a prompt, or you can just start telling a story unprompted.
well, of course I'm going to take the prompt, but but wait, like, I'm so tempted to cheat right now. So, like, because my phone's like right here.
See,
So,
this is why I think you always think I'm gonna cheat, because you're always like, Emily, don't cheat, and I'm like, I would never cheat. But if you're tempted to cheat, that tells me that that's why you suspect me of
have I
cheating.
said that? And this is our 50th
Yeah,
episode.
you're always like, don't cheat.
I know, no, I know, I say that, but on as our 50th episode, have I ever been tempted to cheat before? Have I ever
You've
said that?
never verbalized it, but
Yeah, I don't think I have. But this time I am tempted to cheat, but I won't. I put the phone underneath the legal pad.
yay, good for you.
All right. I want the prompt. I don't even get like a 10-minute or 10-minute warning.
What do you mean?
Like 5 seconds to go, and then I gotta hurry
Oh
up and
no.
tie up
No, 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 no,
the.
no, no, no. This is a skill. You have to guess how long 50 seconds is.
Can I call Kiersten Modglin and have her set her Pomodoro
Nope.
timer for 50 seconds?
Nope.
I'm physically looking around the room for something that cycles every 50 seconds.
Do you have
So
an egg
I'll
timer?
know. I got nothing.
Guess you're
How would
just
I do this?
gonna have to play the game. I know it's that's why it's fun.
Oh, that's why it's fun.
All right,
All right.
you ready for your prompt?
Yes.
A hairdresser named Danielle is enjoying her day at the salon until her high school bully shows up to have her hair done and doesn't recognize her. What does Danielle do?
Okay, before I start, you're gonna start the timer, right?
Yep.
Do I have to have all the elements of a story?
Not
Protagonistical obstacles.
just get to an ending.
All right.
So you can decide what Danielle wants, how she's going to get there, but that's the situation.
Okay, Danielle's the protagonist. The bully doesn't have a name.
Sam.
A girl, Sam? Samantha?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
So, what's her name? I forgot her name already.
Danielle.
Danielle welcomes Samantha into the parlor and says 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000, 5 1,000, 6 1,000, 7 1,000, 8 1,000, 9 1,000, 10 1,000, 11 1,000, 12 1,000, 13 1,000, 15 1,000, 16 1,000, 17 1,000, 18 1,000, 19 1,000, 20 1,000, 25 1,000, 26 1,000, 27 1,000, 28 1,000, 29 1,000, 30 Mississippi, 31 Mississippi, 32 Mississippi, 35 Mississippi, 36 Mississippi, 37 Mississippi, 38 Mississippi, 39 Mississippi, 40 Mississippi, 41 Mississippi, 42 Mississippi, 43 Mississippi, 45 Mississippi, 46 Mississippi, 47 Mississippi, and says, I'm sorry, I'm going on break now. You'll have to cut your own hair. The end. How'd I do?
How did I not predict that you were going to hack that somehow?
How'd I do?
Not well.
Yeah, because I didn't know how long the beginning and the end would take. And so I skipped numbers in the beginning just to make up for that. And did I go over or under?
Over.
Wow.
Over by 16 seconds and 50 milliseconds.
So that was 1 minute and 6 seconds?
Yep, 1 minute and 6 seconds and 50 milliseconds.
Wow, I'm not going to ask for a do-over. I should have intentionally tried to go over 50 seconds.
So unfortunately, instead of getting these 50 sent to you, you're going to have to just buy your own marshmallows.
Okay, I have some right over there. I thought you were going to give me the empty glass. All right, that was kind of fun.
Oh, good.
To end the 50th episode with. And Yeah, so I totally misjudged how long. I should have skipped more numbers in the middle.
Hmm. It
Yeah.
happens. Also, when our techniques, like saying Mississippi and stuff, are often not fully accurate.
Well, yeah, and
Everybody
I
says
wasn't saying
Mississippi at a
20.
different length. Like,
Yeah, yeah. I switched to Mississippi in the middle because I was saying 21 1,000, and I knew that was taking longer than a second.
yeah,
Let's say
yeah,
23 1,000.
yeah. It's hard to actually count how long a second is.
That it was. Well, you know what I do know? In the time it took to play that game, Kiersten Modglin wrote another book.
Yeah.
Book 51. There you go. Ask for it by name.
Well, listeners, thank you for joining us for our 50th episode, which also
Yes.
means there are 49 episodes for you to enjoy if you're new here.
Go binge them all.
Go binge them all.
If you came here because you're the K-Mod squad, the Modglins,
Yeah.
the Modglings, you got 49 to catch up. And the last 10, we probably talk about Kiersten Modglin,
It's
at
true.
least for a sentence or two.
It's true. Well, we
Couldn't have done it without you. Yay.